there's only one Dynamite left before we get to Vegas and Double or Nothing.
Hopefully they give us a good show and some positive things to talk about tonight on Busted Open After Dark.
Now, with the positive, I do think the Elite is a positive right now. Now, Bully, you said it. Tommy, you said it as well. Maybe they rushed a little bit into this match between the Elite and Team AEW. Tommy, what do you think of the choices of Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston being a part of Team AEW?
I love it. Like I said, rally your baby faces around the company. If you're going to have, your war games, who you're going to want to have in there. You want to have Sting and your Lex Luger when they're the good guys of your company. So you want to have who your fans are going to rally behind. Eddie Kingston's a great choice. Bryan Danielson's a great choice. If Kingston, like I said, goes out, I dig into my, large talent roster and say, who can I get? But, Eddie's got 2 weeks to get better. That's a rough injury when both your calves hit the guardrail the way it did. I cringed when I saw it. And you got to wait for time. It could be just, a bone bruise is something that's really, really bad. If it's that, a deep bruise, you got to hope that you don't tear a calf on that. There's a lot of things, or that you didn't break your leg. But there's a lot to go with. But listen, it doesn't matter. It matters who am I going to put that my fans are going to like to fight against these evil bosses?
Now,
I'll ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Who was the perfect choice to go against Vince McMahon?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
There you go. You have to look in that roster and say, who's going to get this type of reaction when I go for that? And I think they picked some talent that are super duper, over in their universe. And tonight, they're in Washington. So Bryan Danielson's hometown, that'll be, something. There's a lot where, I'm looking at the card right now on paper. I know I'm going to see some good wrestling, but I got to see some good storylines.
Well, I think you're going to get it tonight when you look at what we're going to see leading up to Double or Nothing from tonight's show, and we'll get into some of those other things. But I was thinking of you, Tommy, and I was thinking of you, Bully, when I was watching Collision on Saturday, and here's why. When Bryan Danielson came out to have his tag match with Claudio, the fans were on their feet, and what were they doing? They were chanting AEW. So right there, that shows you that Bryan Danielson was the right choice, because he cut that promo right after his match, and he got those fans chanting AEW. So Bully, let me ask you, especially come doing Busted Open After Dark on Wednesday, what do you think of the choices of Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson, and what do you think we're going to get at Double or Nothing?
Do you remember when we first discussed what they should do with Jack Perry? Tommy said Jack Perry should be a heel. I said Jack Perry should be a babyface. And I suggested the scenario of Jack Perry rallying the troops and them chanting AEW, because that's a good rallying cry for the company, correct?
Yes. It
wasn't Jack Perry, it's Bryan Danielson. It works. We need guys. Why not Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson? Eddie Kingston is that junkyard dog, not the actual wrestler, that grizzled vet junkyard dog who's been through hell and back. Why wouldn't he fight for this company who's given him more of an opportunity than any other company in the world? And Bryan Danielson, why wouldn't he stand behind a company that has allowed him to go out there and wrestle the style of wrestling that he knows and loves? So they're great guys to be involved and rally, get the company rallied around.
Now, what do you think? Oh, go ahead, Tommy.
I'm also just looking at this card, right? If I'm breaking it down from television purposes, there's 9 advertised segments. 9 times 10 would be 90 minutes. So that's 1 hour and 30 minutes right here just on this poster. If you gave every segment 10 minutes, you have about an hour 38, sometimes an hour 42 of actual content. So you have 8 to 12 minutes of nothing backstage, of nothing And that's if giving everybody legit 10 minutes curtain to curtain, that's your entrance. So you're talking about 7 minutes match or 7 minutes segment time on everything. When you break this all down, your show is already looking tight. So connective tissue, how much more time do I have to forward these storylines? Because some of these matches, like Will Ospreay versus Roderick Strong is going to be one hell of a professional wrestling match. Don't know if you want to give that just 8 minutes to the main event. Swerve Strickland and Brian Cage has some stuff in it. You also have going to be, obviously after what happened last week. So these are all things when you lay a card out on paper and then you have actual time, you got to be like, oh, wow, this show, like, I know I'm going to go over, but when we talk about slowing things down and digesting stuff, I look at this on paper and I'm like, oof. Like, I mean, Dax versus Okada, I'd love to see that match go 20 minutes. That can't go 20 minutes because then everything gets cut shorter. So, I mean, these are timing out shows. These are issues just from the poster that Thunder Rosa posted on her Instagram.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the preview too. And, I think there will be time. And I think maybe even within these matches, you can tell more of the story as well. But specifically on the Elite, what do you think should happen at Double or Nothing in that match? You have Team AEW and the Elite. The Elite has now taken over the show, Tony Khan's absence. You have Team AEW. Now, you're probably not going to tell more of this story at your next pay-per-view, which I think is a good thing because you have Forbidden Door. Tommy, for you, and then I'll ask you, Bully, what should happen at this match at Double or Nothing?
I put my heels over because if the good guys win, then they kind of already won. If you also think about long-term booking, right? The NWO was so popular, right? Started to get watered down when you added all these members to the group. What was the best part also about the NWO? Eventually Sting. Here came Sting to face this group. And how long was that build? 1 year. And then after that, what killed it? The poor booking of it. You and I will have these discussions. You blame Sting. The other people blame booking, and Hogan and all that stuff. But it was just, man, you had this big build. And then what? This isn't a big build. And then you have to worry about the then what. Again, talking about the beauty of when characters are super over and long-term booking, we could just go to Cody Rhodes. And that story of this business we just saw has done phenomenal business. Looking at it from afar, WWE has set 54 arena attendance records, all this stuff just this year. Now we get to our point, which will be a whole other conversation for another day. We got to our point where we finally rewarded our babyface after a 2-year build. The then what? The then what is as important as what we were doing and discussing. But for this, you're asking me a specific question. I got to keep heating up my heels for the specific reason of the then what, because this should end in the War Games, or this should end in Tony Khan getting control back of his company. Not that he's lost control. I mean, honestly, if you could go back, something's going to happen. Tony Khan as simple slamming the cage door and, Nick or Matt Jackson's head, boom, 1, 2, 3, the show's over. That's a nice payback to our boss that got it. And then you have to, but that's the end of it. Then we move forward.
Well, and if you're going to move forward, then you're going to have some key players other than Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson waiting in the wings.
Then what?
Yeah, that's the then what. All right. So, Bully, for you, what should happen in this match?
Tony Khan's revenge is important to this story. You can't just allow the heels to do what they did to Tony Khan without Tony Khan getting back at the EVPs and at Jack Perry. If you just have the babyfaces go over, you have ruined your opportunity to build up to a moment. I've told you the story of Dixie Carter, and don't kid yourselves. This is right out of the Dixie Carter bump playbook. Done very quickly, and hopefully they'll slow it down. I stated when I gave the idea about Dixie, this will be a minimum of a 6-month story that will culminate at an exact time, on an exact day, at an exact moment, and it will generate you an exact rating. And exactly as I said, happened. Tony Khan's revenge has to be built to an exact day, an exact time. I have to want to tune into something to see just how Tony Khan gets back at these guys. I need to hear from Tony Khan, not reading off a teleprompter. I need to hear something passionate from Tony Khan. Like Tony Khan talks passionately about his love for pro wrestling. I need to hear a passionate promo from Tony Khan saying, Young Bucks, Jack Perry, what you have, and I'm going to make this very simple, what you have done is wrong. And I guarantee you that by this day and this time, I am going to get my revenge on you. And my revenge on you is going to be a lot worse than you ever hitting a TK driver on me. Build to this. Get people invested. Get people emotionally invested so they'll follow you to the payoff.
All right, so what you're saying, and I get what you're saying, but yours obviously was different because Dixie, Tony Khan, was the bad guy. So you built up to that moment of you putting Dixie Carter through a table. Now it's different because Tony Khan obviously got assaulted. You know, I guess you can make him part of this somehow physically. I don't know how.
Why wouldn't you? If you're going to do this to Tony, why wouldn't you have his revenge in mind as the end result?
But can you then what you're saying is he's going to have to get physical then?
No, absolutely not. What top of my head. Young Bucks guys, bear with me here. I'm totally talking shit right now. Young Bucks, what you did to me was so extreme that by the time we get to whatever day you pick, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, a pay-per-view, Young Bucks, what you did was so extreme that I'm going to pay you back with something more extreme from two guys who know extreme better than anybody else. Oh my God, you just planted a seed right there. And I'm going to be the one responsible for it. Tony Khan's revenge. So now, what does Tony mean by this? I got to watch. I got to follow along. Young Bucks, you better sleep with one eye open. Because as long as you're on one of my TV shows, you will be a target. You have destroyed this company. You have taken this company hostage. You have put your hands on me. And I'll be damned if I'm not getting you back from that. Today I learned something. Today I realized something, Matt and Nick. I realized that making you EVPs was the worst decision I ever made in my life. And I'm going to right my wrong for the first time.
All right, so from what you're saying, what's going to happen at Double or Nothing? And then if not Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston, who are those people that are going to get revenge on the Young Bucks for Tony Khan?
Dave, I'm trying to paint a broad picture for you of how I would book this story. I'm not giving you details of the story because I don't know what the details would be yet. I'd have to give it some thought. So,
I mean, basically, if I'm looking at it, Dave, it's also steps. Young Bucks, you want to think you could do a better job? Cool. If you beat this team, company's yours. But if my team beats yours, guess what? You guys are no longer EVPs.
At the very least, listen, Tony Khan has to have his George McFly moment. I don't think Tony Khan is probably the most physical guy in the world or the most aggressive guy in the world. But I guarantee you if Tony Khan witnessed somebody lay a hand on a loved one of his, he would try to do something. And what did George McFly do that we can all relate to? He balled his hand up into a fist and he punched Biff Tannen. At the very least, Tony Khan can ball his hand up into a fist and punch Jack Perry as hard as he possibly can right in the gut.
I can actually see that happening. I can actually see Tony Khan punching Jack Perry in the face. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
And that's what you build to. As a babyface, you make a promise. Then you deliver on that promise. When is that promise going to come through? You take them on a little bit of a journey, and then you guarantee the promise. And then you pay off the promise. And then people look at you as, fuck yeah, Tony. You told us you were going to do it, and you did it. Bravo.
Well, that's why Double or Nothing to me is extremely important, because you have this elite story. Because if the elite lose to Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson and FTR, then there is no more story to tell because they have just lost. The match I'm most looking forward to is Willow Nightingale and Mercedes. And one of the big reasons is I don't know what they're doing, Mercedes. I would have to think we're going to get some kind of heel Mercedes coming into Double or Nothing or coming out of Double or Nothing. I don't think Mercedes is really giving you a reason to get behind her and cheer for her, other than the fact that she used to be Sasha Banks in the WWE. I mean, what has Mercedes done on AEW television and programming to get you to rally behind her? Another example is who she's facing at Double or Nothing, and that's Willow Nightingale, who's an uber babyface with AEW. Now, there's a good story going in, the whole ankle injury with Mercedes and how she was on the shelf for, pretty much a year because of that ankle injury, and her blaming Willow Nightingale for it. I think it was at Resurgence for New Japan. So tonight we get the contract signing, and I really want to hear from both of you what you think we're going to get tonight at the contract signing and what we're going to get from Mercedes. So, Tommy, I'll start with you. What do you think of what Mercedes has done so far, and what do you think we're going to get from her as we get closer to Double or Nothing?
I think she will be a heel. She hasn't done anything but promos, really, because she's been hurt. She's not medically cleared. She's medically cleared. We're going to see her first match, which is going to be awesome to see. I think if this done, in the live audience, you have to, what's my payoff? If it's going to be promo battle between Willow and Mercedes, you better make sure you got your talking skills on, because Willow can talk, and the people, like you said, really, really like her. She has a natural ability, and she has a natural ability to kind of sort of be real and on the fly. So you need this where, a lot of people are saying Mercedes Moné feels like she's the scripted promo, all that stuff. If that's the case, I'd lean into it even more to get her more heat. And then what's your end result? Who's going to go through a table? What's going to happen if you're not going to have that payoff? Cool. Every segment needs to be broken down like a great wrestling match. If this is just going to be a contract signing, war of the words, blah, 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 what's your end out? If you're just going to go UFC style, where like Cody and AJ Styles recently just had, like I said, it was just more of a filler of you talk, I say something, you say something, and we leave. Wasn't overly the best segment. Normally when we see contract signings, something goes down. Don't know if you're going to get that, or do I have another caveat that is going to maybe help that situation? Maybe, I don't know. We have the other story that kind of has, I don't know, taken a turn at times where, with the manager Stokely and what's her name, Chris Statlander. If you want to have that involved, but that also, Chris is also in the best friend story. That you don't know if you wanted to mess with her. Maybe you have Chris turn on her in the contract signing, and both women put Willow through a table, and then she has to go through like, oh my God, my friend just turned on me leading into the match. Don't know if I'd want to do that.
I'm actually afraid of that, Tommy. See, I'm afraid of that because I feel like that's putting the heat on Chris Statlander and not on Mercedes.
I would not have Statlander involved. I'm sorry, Tommy.
I'm saying, like, I don't know if I'm just talking about this. You asked me my question about just this one segment. I have to, you got to break it down. What is it going to just be a flat segment? Obviously, I don't think you're going to put Mercedes through a table. Don't know if you're going to have Willow get through a table. How would Mercedes, if she's not medically clear, be able to put her through a table? So there's all these different routes you're going to go. I wouldn't add anybody into this. My concern would be in front of that live mic. A live crowd.
Ready?
Go ahead.
So I agree with many of Tommy's points. Much like Lash Legend stood out to me last night, Willow Nightingale stood out to me last week. One of the things that I talked about on After Dark was how Willow Nightingale grabbed my attention, and I loved the way she commanded her mic time in the back. Unfortunately, nobody wanted to talk about the positive of Willow because they always wanted to talk about Orange Cassidy. Anyway, I've seen Willow for weeks, months, for a long time, but she did something last week that got my attention. I'm like, yeah, this girl's a strong babyface, and that smile lights up an entire room.
What was it? What was it that grabbed? What was it that grabbed your attention?
I couldn't even tell you. It was the way she's like, yeah, I got a black eye. Yeah, you did this to me. I don't care. I'm going to come back. It was very Babyface 101, but it was the way Willow delivered her Babyface 101. Sometimes I can't even tell you what people said. I just know how they said it and how it made me feel, and that's the only thing that matters. Willow really won me over last week. Conversely, Mercedes has not been winning me over as a babyface. As a matter of fact, I've said it on social media, I've said it on After Dark, and I've said it here. Mercedes Moné is not a babyface. Sasha Banks was not a babyface, but the machine of the WWE knew how to present Sasha Banks as a babyface when they needed to have her a babyface. That's the power of the WWE and how they can mold, protect, and hide certain things. So, the way Mercedes talks, her tone, her inflection, much like I talk about Cody being a heel at heart, Mercedes is a total heel. Okay? So, other than chanting CEO, and like you said, Dave, Sasha Banks signing with AEW, and now is Mercedes Moné, what has she done to make you fall in love with her more? Why should I be in love with Mercedes Moné? What has she said? What has she done? And oh, by the way, she hurt herself. Willow did not hurt her. She fell off the top rope, and she landed wrong and hurt her foot. Accidents happen. So there's real no animosity with Willow. Yeah, I want to get my championship back. Tonight, contracts, I'd turn Mercedes heel tonight in front of a live Dynamite crowd. I'd have her, I don't know what physicality she's capable of, but I'd have her smack Willow in the face. I would do whatever you had to do to impose your will tonight and go into this pay-per-view with, I'm the heel. I'm the bad guy. Because I don't know, and I would love to hear from someone who would say, well, no, Bully, Mercedes is a babyface in my eyes because of this. You can't say Mercedes is a babyface in my eyes because she left the WWE. I get it. You're an AEW fan and you're glad that a WWE talent left to come over here. But what has she done here to make you love her more?
Well, here's the thing, Bully. I'm going to be completely honest here. Mercedes on the microphone hasn't said or done anything to make me love her, and she hasn't said or done anything to make me hate her. She's just there. Like, it's just words coming out of her mouth. Like, has she come across as a babyface? I guess there's been things that she said that are babyface-like that would get people to like her, I guess. Has she said things on the microphone since she's come to AEW to make me dislike her? Yeah, I guess. But she has done, not in one promo since she's come to AEW, has done anything to, like what you said, grab my attention and take hold of my emotions. Nothing. So she's got to do something, because you paid a boatload of money to have Mercedes Moné as a part of your roster, there's got to be a reason behind it. Either she's going to be your top baby face or your top heel, because right now she's neither. So hopefully that starts tonight in this sit-down contract signing with Willow Nightingale. We'll see.
That's what I would suggest. And you don't have to put somebody through a table either. You know why? Because putting somebody through a table can get you a babyface response. Just because the table is there doesn't mean you have to use it. There's nothing wrong with being a bully. Being a bully is so easy. It's the simplest thing in the world. Nobody likes a bully. Everybody hates a bully. There is so much bully qualities in Mercedes Moné. She can say that she looks better, wrestles better, has more money, has more cars, whatever she wants. She can do this. Physically tonight, she can take the heel of her boot and shove it down Willow's throat. Whatever it is. I want to, personally, if I had the pencil, I would book this woman in a scenario where, yep, you're the bad guy. And I know exactly who my good guy would be after time to come back and face Mercedes Moné.
It's Britt Baker.
Britt Baker, 1,000%.
CEO versus DMD. That's it.
You're going to get the chance, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Britt Baker, I don't know if Britt Baker likes herself. It doesn't matter how she sees herself. It's what's best for business. Just by the length of time that Britt has been gone, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Just in the amount of time she's been gone, what we've seen online from her, getting in great shape, even better shape. Britt always looks phenomenal. Even better shape with DDP. When she comes back, that AEW fan base is going to love her. And if Mercedes Moné takes the route of, yeah, I said I was going back to the WWE in about 3 years, and I stand behind it. You're all a bunch of suckers, and the biggest sucker is Tony Khan, because he gave me every single dime I asked for. I would lean into this shit so much that when Britt Baker came back, they would be down on their hands and knees praying for Britt to take that championship off of Mercedes Moné.
That's when I said lean into it. Lean into it more.
Absolutely.
I don't listen. Everyone says how much money this woman's making. I don't know. It's not a publicly traded company, so it's not like where these stats are out there. But this is what people are saying. I would lean into it and be like, I'm the highest paid woman, and I'm the highest paid man. I'm the highest paid talent here. Why? Because I'm the CEO. Make everybody hate you. Whatever rumors there are about you or your promos feel scripted. Cool. I would almost maybe even pull out a script and be like, oh, wait, I was supposed to say this. No, but you know what? I don't need to, because I know I'm the best. Little shit like that is how you can lean into making yourself a bigger dick. Think of the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. He was one of the best heels of all time. Why? He leaned into how much better he is than you.
And
Why?
I would
Because
love
of his
it.
money.
Yes, and I would love it. And again, I've said this before, like her doing Naito with that TBS championship. Her beat Willow Nightingale for the TBS championship and just drag that TBS championship on the ground, because that TBS championship means shit to her, because it's not the world heavyweight champion. It's not the main championship in the women's division. I would love it if she just treated that TBS championship like shit. And maybe even go even further, because it's not the WWE championship. It's an AEW championship, and I just came here for the money, and this championship doesn't mean anything to me.
And the great thing about these ideas that we're coming up with, it doesn't matter if it's the World Championship. It doesn't matter if it's the TBS Championship. It's the way Mercedes will lean into this heel character. Because if you bring back Britt Baker against Mercedes and it's about fighting, Britt Baker's at day one. Britt Baker as much of a pillar as any of the men.
She was the first hire. Britt Baker was the first hire.
So if anybody can fly the flag of AEW, and we have the vision of her with the crimson mask of her and Thunder, and her saying, "You bitch, you just come over here from WWE and you suck up everybody's TV time and you suck up everybody's money and you're gonna suck these people in too." No, I'm not allowing it happen. They talk about blood, sweat, and tears. Well, I've given more blood than any woman in this company. And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow some WWE reject to step into AEW. You walked out because you couldn't handle the pressure and you couldn't handle the heat and because you didn't want to lose. I'd hit her. I would have Britt Baker go so in on Mercedes as Mercedes would go in on her heel roll. And I already know Tommy knows this. You lean into that shit and it's got money written all over it.